Right, good evening and welcome to a surprisingly sunny Lincolnshire for round 2 of Project Ameliorate, the new open wheel series brought to you by Racing Pals. This time we are at Cadwell Park to see how the drivers can do now that they have made their upgrades for this second round of the championship. As we know, last time out we were at Magione, at which point the Ciliums team of Dionysus New and Devdo put on a dominant performance, having really managed to work something out on their car for that first round. We'll see this week how the drivers have managed to upgrade their cars in the meantime to hopefully compete with them and hopefully even beat them at their own game. As you can see, Cadwell Park, a track that I think most people these days are quite familiar with. A nice classic sort of English countryside track with some terrible twists and some very interesting bends, as well as some long uphill straights which these cars in particular might find very difficult to get to grips with. So before we get into it, whilst we are watching here the final minutes of the practice session, which has been going for the last about 53 minutes, let's have a look at the drivers' standings. So as you can see from last race, Devdo leads after that dominant performance at Magione with 40 points, followed by his teammate Dionysus New, followed by M1 LDT for Team Spectre, followed by Jacob the Snack for Peace T Racing. Then comes Darkius, Thomas Jack for Small PP, Suicidal Cookie for QP, Eduardo Pigeon and Jacob Skrodsky 8th and 9th for Poland's Finest, followed by Sylvain Hubble with 10th for the HCR Helios Community Racing team. There are more than 20 drivers, I believe, at the moment, but some of them were not here last week, so are not counted, or in Robin Moe's case is counted but was not here, so has no points at the moment. And moving on to the team standings, again things looking very similar. Having only had one race, Ciliums Racing leads with a 1-2 performance at the last race, followed by Team Spectre, Peace T Racing, Poland's Finest, Small PP, Helios Community Racing, the Leftovers in 7th, QP in 8th, Spinardi in 9th, and the Indian Bus Drivers taking 10th place. There are two new teams for this race. They are Yaoi over Yuri, who were signed up for the last race but unfortunately were not able to make it, and the Trainboy 2005, who was at last race filling in for Robin Moe in the Spinardi, but who this week is back with his own team, Full Steam Racing, who you may remember from Formula Pals. So now we've had a look at that, let's get to this practice session. Have a look how our drivers are doing as they come to the final 5 minutes in this practice. Now, clearly we're already seeing that the Spectre team has a similar dominance, seemingly, in this practice session as their rivals in Ciliums had last week. M1 LDT sits at what would be in qualifying provisional pole positions, merely here is just first place with a 1:44.883, followed by Jort, who is substituting in, I assume, for Darkius, who is not able to make it this week, who comes second with a 1:45.594. Behind them are Devdo for the Ciliums team, Robin Moe for the Spinardi, Dionysus New again for Ciliums, and Hubble for Helios Community Racing. I have to move some stuff around on my screen so I can see the chat better as I know. Alexander Georgiev, also known as Crime, currently in 11th place. And HDDBC, who I'm not actually sure who that is, I assume it's someone here, having a little conversation about points and accusing other teams of cheating. Okay, because HDDBC is Beckervold. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. I'm sure they can shout at me in chat if I'm not. So let's have a look at how our drivers are doing. We see M1 LDT, like I say, leading this practice session by a comfortable margin of around 7/10 as he comes up to the start-finish line of Cadwell Park. Let's ride on board. Don't know why it's doing that. Let's get rid of the depth of field there. As we see M1 LDT come through Charlie's corner of this Cadwell Park circuit, the third turn on this circuit up to the long back stretch, which, like I say, the uphill here could be very difficult for some of these cars if they have not taken certain upgrades. Some teams this race will have upgraded their engines, and we'll see how that pays off for them, or how that harms them in some ways. As it comes up to Park Corner, a right-hand curve followed immediately by Chris Curve in the fifth corner on this circuit. Oh, as he goes back to the pits, so we won't be able to watch that. That's fun. Right on board with Dionysus New, as he himself comes up to what is known as the mountain section, getting very close there to what looks like a leftovers car of either the Good Doctor or Nick Chin. Coming through Hall's Bend, series of very tight, very twisty corners that hopefully this car should be well suited for, being very light and very, very turny. Coming to the final corner now, the 18th corner on his track, backing off a little bit, possibly going to return to pits himself. He's let the leftover team car there go past. I'm not sure if he's pulling into the pits. It looks like he is. I don't seem to be able to find anyone who actually wants to do a lap. And we can see that there is a new livery on the leftover racing team car run by Aaron Rains, the Good Doctor, and Nicholas Chin, currently running 13th and 17th respectively. They've gone for something of a unified Anglo-American design, with one half of the car with the American flag sponsored by Shake Shack, and the other half of the car sponsored by Yorkshire Tea with a lovely Union Jack to go alongside it. The livery.png file that you can see on the timing tower there is from last week's car, which was very mint green, but I've decided to keep that for this race because I quite like it. So as we come to the last 30 seconds of qualifying, let's see, is anyone out on track still? The Cillians racing cars are still trying to put in some lap times to hope to match the currently dominant Team Spectre, and they'll obviously hope to repeat and to beat them in qualifying in 20 seconds time. You see Skrodsky coming out for, sorry, not coming out, but coming up to the line for Poland's finest. If he wants to put in another lap, he will have time to do so. Shall we try and ride on board? It's the wrong camera. Right. So once again, as the Peace T car ahead, I'm not sure who that is, goes off the track, as he then also goes off the track. Let's hope he finishes this lap though, for our sakes. Coming up the park, straight up to Park Corner, turn 4. Again, the uphill will be challenging for some of these cars, and certainly will make for a key overtaking opportunity for those who had the power to do so, as he locks up into park, and I reckon that's going to be a return to pits. Please keep going. Be very kind of him. Keep with him, and as he goes back to the pits, PC car could have been a better choice as he comes up to the probably the most famous part of this circuit other than the mountain, the gooseneck. A fast right left into the downhill section up to Mansfield Corner of turn 8. The next set of corners get confusingly numbered for me. I did have it on the map at the beginning because the MotoGP layout seems to be the most dominant form of this track. I'm not sure how many corners are missing, but again, coming up to the mountain section here, hard left and a hard right uphill. It'll be very important to get some power on here to maintain your speed over this crest. And he's slowing down and going to pull over. Let's see if we can quickly go on board with deep cuts as he comes to the end of Hall's Bend. Up to this turn 17 hairpin, which is turn 17 on the MotoGP layout, probably more like turn 15 or 16 in this layout. And around Barn Corner, again a very important corner, onto the long start-finish stretch. And he goes across the line. It was an outlap, so sadly will not be counted, but this is only practice. Quality is still to come. Well, we finally got something of a lap there done, I think. I might have missed out a few corners with people returning to pits, but yeah, as you can tell, windy track, a lot of twists, turns, and camber all over the place. And interestingly, it's probably one of the best roads in Lincolnshire. For anyone who has the misfortune to drive in that particular county. Sorry, Husky, you might be watching this. Alright, as we have reached the end of the practice timer now, we'll wait for it to tick over for anyone still on the lap to finish their laps, and the session to tick over to qualifying. There'll be around a minute to wait in between the two sessions. And then we will get, I think, 10 minutes for drivers to put in their fastest laps to try and take pole position. As you see there, Dionysus will get very close to, I believe that's Nick Chin. To the back of Nick Chin in the left of his cars. The timing tower seems to think that Dion is still on a lap. I'm not quite sure if that's accurate. But the session has been over for some time now. You see the two Poland's finest cars going very close together there, running a line astern. The 43 of Jacob Skrotsky and the 88 of Eduardo Pigeon. Assumably, again, a number in honour of the great F1 driver Robert Kubica. As we now wait the minute or so for the session timer to tick over to qualifying, so we can get going. So the camera wants to glitch out a little bit. I'll switch view, something a bit more amenable. Don't know why it keeps giving me some depth of field. I don't want it on that camera, so I shall just turn it off. So there we have practice again. As said, Team Spectre dominant, but not themselves improving in that last part of practice. M1 LDT leading with a 144.8. As I've realised I actually haven't turned Discord notifications off, I shall do so now, so you don't have to hear it. Oh, as we also get some very confusing... Let me... Now, I think you can hear there that Robin Moe has certainly updated his engine by the sound of it as he goes on his first outlap. I've been told in the Project A chat by Dion himself that his name is pronounced Dion, not Dion, which I assume means Dion, not Dion. So I may just call him Fred, but I'll probably just call him Dion. Every week I'm going to get slightly closer to Husky in terms of mispronunciations and messing certain names up. As the one particular famous incident that he had with a mispronunciation which led to a lot of words being directed at him. as we now see Robin Moe begin the first flying lap of this qualifying session. 8 minutes remaining on the clock. As there's a little gaggle of cars behind him coming up to start their laps. It'll be interesting to see if any of them get in each other's way. But we'll stay with Robin Moe for now. As we see him make his way down and then up the park straight. Hear all the other cars screaming along behind, rushing to put their times in. As we see a nice balloon going over the track as Robin comes to the gooseneck. Very nicely over the crest, take a little bit of curbing on the exit. Decided to give me this again, but oh well, we're going to have to stick with it now. You hear this new engine, which I think may be a V8, roaring to life. I'm not quite sure what engine they have gone for. If he gets a podium, I'll certainly ask. And now he comes to the twisty Halls Bend section of the circuit. Maybe that engine might be a bit of trouble in that section for the cars that are running it, with the weight that it may add. As he tries to get good exit, I think just about managed it. Maybe a little bit compromised for the exit onto the run down and start finish straight. He looked like he went a little bit wide, got a little dip into the grass. He does a 147.382 to set what is currently a provisional pole, but will probably very shortly change. Deep Cuts goes a 148.333. Let us have a look behind to see what other cars are doing. There's a gaggle of cars coming through Halls Bend right now. Maybe not Halls Bend, sorry, coming up to what looks to be the park straight. I'm not quite sure there. Either they didn't manage to do a lap or didn't manage to do a quicker lap than their first. As no one yet has been able to beat Robin Moe, but certainly, by judging by practice times, they should do. As we see M1 LDT still having not set a lap. Comes through the gooseneck down to Mansfield. He's going to want to be careful not to get caught up by what looks to be a Spinardi car ahead of him. As he comes up to the mountain. Now into Halls Bend. Yeah, I think that is the Spinardi car, possibly of Daniel Scott ahead of him. I may be wrong on that. Let's have a quick check. No, it's Spinardi car of Robin Moe. So can M1 LDT repeat his practice session performance? We shall see in only a couple of tenths of a second. Or maybe more like a second, as he gets a 144.527. Now, I think that was quicker than his practice time, so that is a new lap record for these cars in this circuit. Well, I think so, at least in these sorts of conditions. But that sets him 3 seconds clear, essentially, of Robin Moe and the rest of the field. See, his teammate Jort has yet to do a lap, as do the Silliams boys have to also do a proper lap, which, as we know, are Devdo and my dear friend Fred, also known as Dion. As we see Dion running very close behind his teammate Devdo, possibly coming to an end of a lap, we shall see. Yep, with Devdo doing a 146.788, quickly taking second, but being relegated to third by his teammate, who went just shy of 0.06 seconds Or just faster, 0.06 seconds faster than him with a 1:46.726 from Dion. So we see there's quite a spread of pace at the moment. I think the only two drivers who have not set what could be considered, maybe not their best lap times, but lap times which could be those that they finish with at the end of this qualifying session, are Skrodsky and Daniel Scott, still firmly in the 2 minutes. With a 2:04 for Skrodsky and a 2:13. Never mind, Skrodsky has just done a 1:47.9. So Daniel Scott, the only one still, as we see Devdo go quite wide out of the gooseneck there. And Daniel Scott puts in an actual lap to go 1:49.498, putting him in 10th place now. I think someone just overtook him. Didn't quite catch who it was. And the question is Jort is out and is trying to put a lap together, but hasn't yet put in a lap time. He has probably 1 or 2 laps left if he has enough fuel in the car to put a lap together and get a time on the board, as Dionysus Nu puts in a better lap, a 1:46.224, to put him in 2nd place, as Robin Moe had briefly overtaken, I think, the pair of them to go 2nd, now 3rd with a 1:46.560, the Spinardi car. I know there was a lot of concern in the Spinardi camp coming into this race that their decisions in terms of upgrades had not paid off for them, but I think well, Daniel Scott's 10th place isn't overly uncompetitive, and Robin Moe showing to some degree that perhaps talent can outweigh performance in these cars, at least for the moment. Obviously, as we get deeper in the series, as more and more upgrades are applied to the cars, you will need to make some good decisions in that direction, which I'm sure they're hoping that they will. We now see Jort go 3rd with 1:46.274, pushing Robin back to 4th place, but still, I think that might be deep cuts that went quicker. I didn't quite catch it. But we still have Milt, M1LDT, almost a full 2 seconds clear, just under 2 seconds clear of the next fastest car. Certainly I have a second and a half clear of everybody on this racetrack right now. As we have, qualifying has officially finished, which means that Nick Chin, if his lap is still valid, will have to set it now. I think maybe he went off there, he certainly clipped some grass. And Jacob the Snack, the 2 people on this track right now, of the 18 who have not yet set a lap, will have to do so this lap or will forfeit their ability to set a quali time and will start in their current position. Unless, of course, Jacob sets a lap and Nick does not, in which case Nick will start in Jacob's position. As we see, M1LDT has set his final official lap of a 1:44.527, putting him on provisional pole. And the question is, will anybody, Dionysus Nu, which I am definitely pronouncing wrong there, Jort still on a lap, and Dion's teammate Devdo also on a lap, potentially hoping to take that away from them. But we shall see what happens if we continue to ride with Jacob. Jacob comes up to the mountain, gets a little bit loose through that chicane, but manages to hold on to it. As Nick Chin does not set a lap time, has finished qualifying, currently 17th place. If Jacob can put in a lap time, has a valid lap to have, then he shall, no matter what it is, go faster and beat him and take 17th at least himself, and Nick will be pushed to 18th. Let's have a look. Jacob does a lap time of 1:47.348, putting him in 6th place, just in the nick of time. It's not giving him a checkered flag, it should be, but he has finished his qualifying session. Let's have a look if anyone else. Dion has just seemingly had a spin that we just caught the end of, supposedly not then putting in a proper lap. As Devdo now rounds out the second to last corner, coming now up to the barn corner to hopefully finish a lap of his own. We shall see what it is, and Endjort appears to also be on a lap behind him, but never mind. Devdo jumps into the pit lane. A very crowded pit lane to make sure we can fit all these cars here at Cadwell Park that does not traditionally have as many grid spots as we had needed for it. Luckily, I think for some, there should... Actually, I think there might be, if I remember some of the talking, there may be a need for some cars to refuel. Hopefully they are not in too difficult positions to do so with this crowded pit lane. As Jort, just in the nick of time, a 1:46.182, puts that car into second place. It is a 1-2 front row lockout for Team Spectre, as we see Cilliams Racing not as dominant as they were last week. Still a 3-5 impressive performance from them, with Robin Moe splitting them in the middle in 4th place. Continue down the order, Jacob the Snack and Deep Cuts Peace T Racing 6 and 7. Followed by Hubble in the Helios Community Racing in 8th. As we now go to the next session for some racing to soon start. Continuing down the order, Hubble, as I said, in 8th place for 1:47.558. Followed by Pigeon and Skrodsky, the Poland's finest cars. Followed by Trainboy. Daniel Scott then in 12th. 13th, Benjamin Walrack. The Good Doctor in 14th. Followed by Aaron Fiedlak, Beckevold, Sench, and Nicholas Chin, who is in 18th, having not set a time. As we now wait for the session to tick over and for the race to begin. This race, as I understand it, will be, as we now grid up. As you can see, someone is in the pit lane. Nope, they are now on the grid. Good. Oh, I almost completely forgot about the Indian bus drivers, boys, who once again decided not to qualify and are now at the back of the grid, 19th and 20th. So there are 20 cars currently lined up on this grid. I believe 2 teams, actually 3 teams, I believe, are missing a second driver at the moment. So Yari over Yuri, QP, and Small PP. Oh, sorry, 4 teams. Trainboy 2005 also currently representing the new team, Full Steam Racing. His teammate Trev is not here today. As the lights come on for the start of this race. We hear some guys starting to rev up their engines as we have 6 lights. And we are racing here at Cadwell Park. As the cars try and get away, a lot of scrambling of position. The Peace T car, I think, of Jacob the Snack, really getting a good start there, followed immediately by the Poland's finest car. JK is up to, as there's a massive crash. A lot of cars caught up in that carnage. We will have to see that. I think that may need to be red flagged. I think that may need to be a red flag situation. We will have to see what happens. I'm not sure if we have the facilities right now to red flag this race. Yeah, I think Jacob has returned to the pits, and I'm assuming he will be restarting the server as we speak, because that was a very large crash. He'll be very disappointed with that because he had such a good run, but that caught a lot of people up. I think that was one of the Cilliams cars certainly caught up in that I saw. As we see, Jake is still in the pit lane. I'm not sure if he is restarting. We shall have to find out. Yep, there we are. We are restarting this race. As I was saying, 24 laps here. And we will go again. Yeah, that was unfortunate. As Cheba says in the chat, yeah, that was the big one. A second big one I have seen today. No spoilers for the IndyCar race, but there was something a little bit big in that. But yes, we will restart, and Jacob will very much hope that he can get as good a run as he did off the start line this time around. See, some people got some very, very good starts there. And I think that with all the cars trying to overtake each other at once, it's not the widest of circuits this, and that just has created some carnage. Hopefully we'll see more care this time around, as again, the lights come on. We have 6 lights, and to quote Crofty, away we go. As again, the PCT cars get a good run, but look at that. Robin Moe in the Spinardi team absolutely storming off the grid, but it looks like Milt has managed to pick up the pace in that car and keep his position in first place, as Robin now struggling. It's like Jaker has taken his spot second place. Let's have a look. So we can see Jort has fallen back now to 5th place. I get a good camera angle. There's a lot of cars squabbling for positions. I have to take stock after these first few corners. There's a Cilliams car of Dion tries to look at Jaker. We see Jort now back up to 4th as one of the PC cars, deep cuts, I think, is off the track back there and loses a place to Sylvain Hubble, possibly going to lose a few more before the corners are done. A lot of cars, over a lot of the track right now. See Dion now all over the back of Jaker's car as the cars begin to fall into something of a normal ordered position, following what has been a second sort of first lap of semi-carnage, not quite as big as the first start we had before, as Dion now through Hallsbend. Can they go side by side through this entire section of track? They touch, but they keep going. Dion may not be too happy with that contact, but I'm not sure. I think that was inevitable. Squeezes one of the Spectre cars a little bit, but Jacob will remain ahead of him for the time being. But I think Dion possibly has the power in that car to make the move eventually, but now he's got to fend off Jort in the Spectre car, which has thus far looked pretty dominant, as Jort possibly just about alongside him now up into turn 1 and turn 2. Jort will have the inside line for the next 2 sets of corners if he wants it, but he's going to stick behind him, possibly try and take him up through the park straight into Park Corner itself. As Robin Moe in the Spinardi car in 5th place, now under attack from Jacob Skrodsky in the Poland's finest car. This is one hell of a battle for the midfield right now. Battle for P3, as it were, actually. Milt, meanwhile, is 4.4 seconds ahead of Jaker, just leading the way in 1st place, as Jort continues to be all over the rear. As I think there's been contact, Robin Moe is off and has lost several places, now down into 9th, now still under attack by Jacob Skrodsky, so I assume that they came together and both of them suffered the consequences of whatever happened there, but they're going to have to do some work to get back up through the field. Dion continuing to fend off Jort, but Jaker now also under threat, or continuing to be under threat from these 2 cars, who, at least from practice, would look to be slightly superior, as Jaker, I think, just gets a little bit on the grass. He keeps the position, but Dion now within 0.2 seconds. Let's ride on board with Dion, if we can. A few more battles further down the grid to have a look at. I'm going to quickly have a look at Devdo, as we see him, Vasilium's car, down to 11th place, trying to attack Jacob Skrodsky and Robin Moe, both who have obviously just appeared right in front of him on the last lap, following their own coming together. So then have a look at Deep Cuts, who is closing close behind to the HCR car of Sylvain Hubble. Battle for 5th place. Now we see actually this battle here with Robin Moe, Jacob Skrodsky. Robin has taken some advantage over Skrodsky now and is now himself fighting with Benjamin Walrack. The other Helios Community Racing car, as Dionysus do, is now again right on the rear of the PC racing car. As behind now, just as we leave it, Devdo has gotten ahead of Jacob Skrodsky to take 10th place. You see here Dion dropping back a little bit as Robin Moe now gets ahead of Benjamin Walrack. Benjamin Walrack goes wide and loses 2 more places on top of that for good measure, putting him down to 11th place as Deep Cuts now gets ahead of Hubble somewhere through the sort of downhill section just before the mountain there, and Dion has gotten ahead of Jaker, who is falling a little bit through the order, also been overtaken by Jort. There's a lot happening here, almost too much to try and keep up with, as Jaker actually just gets ahead of Jort again. I'm not quite sure how that happened, as Jort himself, struggling back there, has lost another 2 places to Deep Cuts and Hubble as he gets onto the grass out of the penultimate corner. Let's have a look then. Jort now overtaking again the car that just got past him, Sylvain Hubble, Helios Community Racing. Once again going to want to be getting back up onto the end of Deep Cuts and Joker to take a position which he may feel after the practice and qualifying sessions that this team has had, he deserves. So now Trainboy and the Good Doctor fighting down for 13th place as Trainboy goes wide into T1. He may be able to maintain it, has to brake a little bit I think to try and avoid murdering the Good Doctor there, but now he will be under threat immediately from Aaron Fiedlak for P14. As Sylvain Hubble and Robin Moe are now fighting for 7th place. I believe that's Beckervold. I think that's Philip Beckervold. I'm not quite sure if that is the right first name, so I'm going to say it once and never say it again. Who overtakes Aaron Rains, who was looking to threaten Trainboy for a little bit, but Aaron comes back on him. Switch back there as they now come up to the gooseneck. We'll see if Beckervold fancies a look to the inside. Probably not here, but down at Mansfield. As Aaron goes off a little bit, but luckily down there it doesn't lose you too much time, so long as you don't go too far off the track. A downhill helping, gravity helping to pull the car continuously forwards through that section. As we see up ahead, well, who should we go with first? Devdo, currently fighting again with Sylvain Hubble for 8th place. Oh, as Dev gets a massive, what looks to be a bit of a snap. That section can certainly do that to you as the track falls away from you on the downhill. Gets a snap, managed to recover it, very, very well recovered. As Crime, what has happened to Crime? He is dropping down the order. Where is he? He's parked. Crime is parked, I'm not quite sure where. In the middle of the Halls Bend section of corners. Crime must have had a spin and is around, which is a concerning replay of the events that happened to him last race, as we see there a Spinardi car. I think that's Daniel Scott, as Crime seemingly has to dive out of the way of the Spinardi backmarker car, who is now up to 19th from 20th, taking the place of Crime. We see now Deep Cuts under threat from Jort again. This is the move that Jort wanted to make, and he makes it for now. But he's going to try and come back at him. Thinks better of it before Mansfield. Will he try anything into the mountain? He would be... I mean, you'd think he'd be unwise to do so. There's a Good Doctor there also. Wherever he is, falling down the order. Being overtaken by at least 3 cars there, I think. We go back with Deep Cuts, who will want to desperately reclaim his position from Jort. There is so much going on all over the field. As Jort then gets himself loose. I'm glad I stayed on board with this battle. Jort gets loose through Hall's Bend and is once again down to 5th place and once again has to get past the PC racing cars. As we perhaps have a look with Robin Moe, who is fighting again for 6th place against Eduardo Pigeon in the Poland's finest car, Robin in the Spinardi car. This order has been very quickly shaken up from what it was during qualifying. And they're quickly followed behind, very shortly followed behind by Devdo in the number 12 Silliams racing car. As you see there, the very professional livery of the Spinardi team against the other very professional livery of the Poland's finest team. Both very comical in their own ways, as there's a little bit of contact between the front right of the Spinardi and the rear left, and that has allowed Devdo to try and make a move around the outside of Chris Curve. Now, as they make contact again, Dev having to cut the chicane, to cut the gooseneck chicane a little bit. He may not be very happy with that, but looks to have the pace. He might be able to try it again. So let's have a look towards the back of the grid. Indian bus drivers. Gons against Beckervold, the Yari over Yuri car, the only Yari over Yuri car in this race at the moment. So I think they're Yari over Yuri. The Indian bus driver's car will want to take some places after a poor showing by the team last race out, and with the teammate being in 20th place, and he does for a split second get up to 14th place, but he will try through the mountain and gets ahead again, and Gons is up to 14th. As we quickly ride back on board up the front of the grid. Do we want to go with Devdo? Yes, we do. Devdo now once again alongside the Spinardi car. Almost alongside the Spinardi car. I think he backed out of it a bit towards the end of that straight. He clearly, I think it's clear that he has the pace to try, but can he succeed in making a move on Robin Moe? Well, that's proving more difficult for him than the actual catching portion, as Jort is also now right on the rear of Jacob Snack, having gotten past deep cuts. He is in a PCT sandwich and will certainly want to get ahead of Jaker and get onto the rear of Dynasnu very quickly to try and hopefully take a 1-2 for the team and put themselves possibly on par, if not a little bit ahead, the Silliams team in the standings. And I want desperately to go and have a quick look at Robin Moe, but I can't because these two are still duking it out side by side up into the mountain section. As there's a little lock up there from Jort, which allows Jaker to keep ahead, maybe a little bit of contact on the exit there. We see Eduardo Pigeon just lose a few positions there. Robin Moe up to 7th and Devdo up to 6th. I'm going to keep aboard here for now, as Jort remains behind Jaker. See Jort now within 0.1 second almost. He's really keeping it right to the gearbox of the PCT racing car through the first set of corners, and any mistake from him, absolutely any mistake at all, is going to be jumped on by his PCT teammate Deep Cuts as he tries to make a move. Looks to the outside of Park Corner. Can he clear before the corner? It looks like he's cleared him, but will he be able to take it? Yes, he is. And that is Jort ahead of Jacob the Snag, but gets a little bit on the grass as the two teammates, PC Racing teammates, are now fighting themselves for the position, and Deep Cuts gets ahead of his teammate to take 4th place. Jacob will not be very happy with that, getting overtaken by not one car but also another car, which happens to be his teammate Well, I said that Deep would jump on any mistake made by Jort, but he also jumped on the mistake made by Jaker, which so that Jaker will want to fight back before even they are teammates. As we now come down the order a little bit, Robin Moe just out of range as Jort has just had a mistake himself, and the PST cards are back past. I'm getting a large sense of deja vu from this one, as the PST cards once again 3 and 4, albeit in a different order to how they were before, as they come around the final 2 corners. Jaker following Deep, but himself now being once again hunted down by Jort. Very familiar feeling for these PST cars. I suppose while we're here, I mean, this is probably one of the trouble. This is one of the, as we actually see here, sorry, the Good Doctor fighting a QB car of Aaron Fiedelack. The Good Doctor being Aaron Reigns, fighting with Aaron Fiedelack. Oh, and there's 4 cars in very close proximity. 2 leftovers cars and QB car and the Yaoi Yuri car. You see there, I think Nick Chin has dropped off a little bit with Veckervold. As they come together at the second and final corner, I think, yep, Nick should let Veckervold go there. He may get a penalty for that post-race, but I think that was just inevitable. The closeness with which all 4 of those cars are absolutely fighting it out. As you see, Aaron Fiedelack maintained, he's now behind the Good Doctor in 14th, Aaron Fiedelack 15th, Veckervold 16th, and Nick Chin in 17th. We come back to this ongoing fight. Actually, let's quickly go on board with Robin Moe, who's going to have a look at Mansfield almost making contact with Salim's car, possibly locking up a little bit in the effort to prevent it, but not quite getting past Devdo. As Jaker and Deep Cuts continue to fight it out, Deep Cuts maintaining the lead, but just loses it out into the mounted section. Now Deep Cuts himself, now very much under threat from Jort as they come up to Hall's Bend, as Jort gets past, and once again we have the PST sandwich of Jaker, Jort and Deep. This is becoming a running theme in this race. As we see Deep Cuts now back on the back of Jort, very, very close behind, 0.3 seconds. Once again hoping that Jort will make a mistake or get something wrong and he will be able to take that place back from him, as Jort does get a little bit on the grass, but can Deep make a move work through turn 3? He might just have the pace to make it, doesn't quite, gets back into the slipstream as quickly as possible as they come up to Park Curve for the 10th time in this race. We are now lap 10, we are just shy of halfway through. As we see, actually back behind Sylvain Hubble now, side by side with the HCR car of, with the Skrodsky car, Poland's finest car. Gets past him for a second, but albeit gets onto the grass through Park Corner, and once again is now behind him by about a second. Have a look with Jort here. It's classic, my favourite, one of my favourite cameras, the classic sort of F1 style onboard. So we see how difficult it can be to get these cars around some of these corners. Backs off a little bit on the entry, but Jaker decides to back off in the middle. Almost a collision, a little bit of a speed differential there. As Jort's going to have to try, as Jake gets a little bit loose on the exit, Jort's going to have to try and get a really good exit at this corner to make a move into turn 1, or if not on the straight. So there is a car ahead, looking to be going slightly slowly. Possibly that is the back marker of Crime, down in 20th place. You see Deep Cuts has come into the pits. Don't know whether he ran out of fuel, needed a repair, or had some other problem. Deep Cut's now down in 8th place. I'm not sure what happened there. As we go back to the fight, Dionysus New also dropping down the order. I'm not sure what's happened to him either. but he is now down to 6th place. Possibly some sort of collision, some sort of incident, a spin, as we did see happen to him last time, but last time he was able to recover it and continue to a relatively dominant 2nd place finish behind his teammate, who currently runs 4th, Devdo. As once again, we see now Deep Cut's down to 20th. Possibly he had a massive issue, either had an automatic pit reset or a return to pit button push, and has lost what appears to be, well, everything currently that he had in this race. Or maybe it's just a tactical way of trying to get more research tokens at the end of the race. As we say, Nick Chin get past Beckervold through the park straight. Way before the corner, he is ahead of the Aria Vieri car in the Leftovers Anglo-American Alliance car, as I'm going to call it. And we come back to this fight, the battle for second, which is now joined by a new competitor, Devdo, who is replacing the now 20th placed Deep Cuts in this particular fight against Jacob the Snake, who has now continued to hold this place for some laps now, following Jort's earlier missteps that caused him to lose it after gaining it, and following him getting past his own teammate again. As Deep Cuts had pounced upon Jacob's own mistake to take the place himself before all what has happened now. So Jort now alongside up through Park Straight. Who will be ahead into the corner? I think it is Jort, but will he manage to maintain it? Let's have a look with an overhead cam. I think Jort has that move done, but can he keep it? We have seen him make the move multiple times during this race, as we are now at the halfway point of this race. We've seen him make this move, get the 2nd place, get that 1-2 for the team, but then lose it very shortly afterwards, usually in the section he's about to come up to, Balls Bend and the mountain. Also worth noting that Milt, M1LDT, Jort's teammate in Team Spectre, is currently sitting very, very comfortably in 1st place, some 40 seconds on average, ahead of his teammate and ahead of the rest of the grid. Anyone who remembers Formula Battle Season 2 may be getting a bit of deja vu from that dominant performance by one M1LDT. So we quickly run behind with Robin Moe now. Dionysus New up to 5th place. But Robin right on his gearbox, looking to make the move himself to take that place from him, and hoping to very quickly be in that competition for 2nd place with the cars that are battling ahead. As I get a quick drink of water there, we see Robin now, again, still with 3.3 seconds of Dion in the car ahead. Look at the pace differential on the main straight. As we said, we believe Robin Moe has the new engine. I think it's more of a belief because you can hear it scream as he climbs up that hill. See, Dion in the first race, as we all understand it, took a different gearing ratio, which was what gave them such a dominant performance in that race. With the way these cars are on the gearing. We'll see how these two compete right now, but it looks like Robin has just the edge. Whether that's the edge of the car or the edge of his own personal skill is up for debate. I assume it'll be a little mixture of the two playing their parts to create this battle right now. As a lock-up ahead from Devdo in 4th place, may put his teammate into a little bit of hope of gaining that place himself. As we see, there are 2 cars in the pits, Daniel Scott and Beckervold. Possibly they have had to pit due to fuel. Beckervold does not appear to be making any efforts to leave. We shall see if he does leave the pit lane, or if he's had a bigger issue. There was discussion from Daniel Scott's end, as yes, Robin Moe also comes into the pits, that they may not be able to get to the end on fuel. Which We'll certainly see Robin Moe quickly takes, although I assume he's got a little dash of fuel to make it to the end. And only loses two places, never mind, in that pit stop. Both of them to the Poland's finest cars of Eduardo Pigeon and Jacob Skrodzki. And that is something that Robin knew was going to happen. He knew it was going to have to happen, as we see Jacob the Snack now. It gave me an update there, I'm not quite sure if that was an update. But Robin knew that was going to happen. I believe he knew he was going to have to pit for fuel, but that will be quite disappointing, as I don't know, and I don't believe that Dion will have to. But we should obviously find out. Again, with all the upgrades, all the differences, that's one that can come into play. If you haven't taken the right upgrades, you might not make it to the end of this race with fuel, as that is... I'm not quite sure. I think that's Daniel Scott, stopped on track, seemingly trying to be as safe as possible, but not in the best position, almost causing some incidents with 3 cars further ahead of him. But he is back and going again, down in 18th place, ahead of Deep Cuts, who, as we noted earlier, had some sort of issue requiring a return to pits, which put him to the back of the grid. Sench must also have had an issue which I was not privy to. He is now down in 17th, behind Crime, who, as we noted earlier, had a large spin in Hall's Bend and was put at that point to the back of the grid, but has since, through the misfortune of others, made his way up to 16th place. As we see the Indian bus driver's car of Crime here, 10 seconds behind next place, 15th, Nicholas Chin. Let's have a look at someone we haven't had a look at. New team, the Train Boy 2005 racing team, Full Steam Racing. Sponsored by, I believe, New Jersey Central Lines. New Jersey Central Lines, it says so. Yes, Jersey Central Lines on the side of the car there. A very similar colour scheme to the Cilliams cars, but a little bit brighter. As he himself is now just under a second behind, Sylvain Hubble, car ahead in the battle for 9th place, but is being passed right now by Jacob the Snack. I think that's Jacob. No, it's not. Sorry, that is Deep Cuts. He has lapped Deep Cuts, and Deep Cuts is trying to unlap himself, which I think he will do quite quickly. Again, the Full Steam Racing car having missed the first race, much like the Yahoo Euro team, for 2 different reasons, albeit one was signed up and missed it, the other one wasn't around for that race and has been created more recently. That is the Full Steam Racing team. Has had some points to do upgrades the same way as other cars have, but not as many as if they had competed, as Robin Moe now continuing down in 8th place after his pit stop, now fighting on the rear, 0.3 seconds behind Jacob Skrodzki in the battle for 7th. As that's a beautiful shot there of them cresting over Hall's Bend. They are going to be absolutely at it for the next set of corners. I think my money is on Robin to take this place eventually, but Jacob could make it very difficult for him. As Aaron Fidelak off the track, where is he? He is miles away from any sign of civilization. He is rolling. I don't know, has he run out of fuel? His engine is still running. I think maybe he has had a control issue. He has been known to before. He's about to cross over the track though. This could be very dangerous if he does not. I think he seems to be making a slight turn. I'm not sure what is going on here. He has had control issues in the past. He has had issues with his wheel in the past. Maybe these are issues with his pedals, as he does not seem to have any. He has steering, but he does not seem to have now he gets back on the throttle. He has recovered whatever happened there. He has managed to recover from it. But this is a driver who has in the past been prone to issues of control, and sadly it seems to have affected him again today. He's down to 18th now. Certainly not where he wanted to be. As we see further up on the grid, Devdo now on the rear of Jacob the Snack. The battle for third place. Also noting that Robin Moe did get past Skrodsky, but has been repassed. Let's go back to here. That is exciting. Robin and Skrodsky absolutely fighting it out through Horse Bend now. We come down to the hairpin. At some point during our watching of Aaron Fiedlak's struggles and likely sadness, Robin Moe managed to get past Skrodsky, but has been now repassed, as we saw in a very exciting manoeuvre for 7th place. Now Robin, again, having been one of the few cars that had to pit during this race, will certainly want to not be behind for too much longer. As you can hear, the reason for why that pit stop had to be made, as I assume it is a V8 engine, I'm not entirely certain, absolutely roars away. As he just slips past the opponent's finest up into park. But the opponent's finest car, as there is contact, Robin maintains the car, manages to keep it going. QP car of Aaron Fiedlak having to avoid there. Robin is not going to lose any positions, but certainly the stewards may want to have a look at that after the race. Okay, never mind, he does lose positions. He loses a... no, he doesn't yet. He almost loses a position to Hubble, but may be able to hang on to it. We'll see if Robin thinks he is at fault for the incident. He may give the place back at some point, but won't want to lose it to the Hubble car. I think he has decided to keep going. Certainly, I'm sure that will be looked at by the stewards at the end of this race, as Jacob Skrodsky has to get past Sylvain Hubble himself after coming together with Robin Moe, putting him down to ninth place, but now back up to 8th place. But again, we'll have to see that, if anything comes of that, after the race. But for now, Robin Moe through to 7th, and will quickly be trying to get up onto the rear of Eduardo Pigeon, but with that spin, it will be a harder task in the next 6 laps than it was before, as Jort has hit the wall. Oh, that's not good. Jort is in the wall, down just after Charlie's. Devdo, in the meantime, has gone past Jacob the Snack. He's trying to get out, but he is stuck. He had to return to pit. It says he is P1, but that's just the way it works. He will soon be down the order by quite a way as he disconnects. I think he's had enough of it. Devdo, meanwhile, repassed by Jacob the Snack in our... Once again, every time we watch someone's misery, someone else seems to benefit, and by the time we've gone out watching the misery, status quo seems to have restored itself. Right, as we now see, with proper camera view, Jacob the Snack and Devdo fighting, continuing to fight for 3rd place, but that should be, and it will be, 2nd place, as Jort has rejoined. But he should be stuck where he is for a little while. He should not be able to. If he does, I'm not sure what the timing tower is going to do. Okay, there we are. He is now down to 14th place. For the time being, at least. The gap now ahead with that spin that giant crash which embedded Jort's car into a one of the trackside barriers. The gap to the car ahead for Jacob the Snack, the gap to the leader of M1 LDT and Jacob is 1 minute 1 second 0.2. That is sizable. Okay, sorry, I missed it. Mr. Beckervold says that he had damage, which is why he is still in the pits. It seems to be quite a lot of damage, which he is taking the full repair on. Not that in AC you have much choice on the matter. As we see Jacob get lap one of the Indian bus driver cars. Let's have a look further down the order as Hubble is continuing to fight against Robin Moe, now in 7th place. Robin And Dionysus New is battling his own teammate for third. It appears somewhere along the line Jacob Skrotsky got back ahead of Robin Moe, possibly whilst we were watching the incidents, as Jacob the Snack has an off at what looks to be portions of Hall's Bend, portions of the mountain section. And both of the Cilliams cars are now passed. It's a 2-3 for Cilliams. It's a 1-14 for Spectre. Cilliams will be absolutely loving this. They have gone from a day where they were likely to lose, if not be very much tied for the championship with the Spectre Racing team, to one where they are going to very likely maintain their lead, even at the cost of some research tokens at the end of this race. For those unfamiliar, research tokens are applied in inverse of race finishing position following stewarding. So the people who come last receive more tokens than the people who come first. A bit like F1 wind tunnel testing time. And research tokens are given at the end of each race. Drivers have a week, or teams, sorry, have a week to put in their upgrades, which are all worked out very meticulously by our race director, who is currently in 4th position, Jacob the Snack. And they have a week to apply their upgrades using the tokens that they are given at the end of each race. And everything's kind of petered out a little bit for a second here. Dion dropping back from his teammate. About 1 second between them. I suppose at this moment I will take the time to ask anyone currently watching, if you have a driver of the day, please put it in chat. I personally am not quite sure how to give it to, as Trainboy and Skrotsky, Skrotsky and I think that is Daniel Scott, come together at what looks to be Chris Curve. Both of them sort of off track and possibly in the barriers. Devdo has had a spin down at what I think is Hairpin. No, sorry, it's down at Barn, and it has dropped to 4th place as Deep Cuts has just also gotten past Aaron Rains to take 16th. Devdo once again not be very happy about that, but their team should maintain their lead, both in terms of team championship after this race and in terms of lacking research tokens, I guess, at the end of this race. As we now see Eduardo Pigeon, the opponent's finest, looking now at the back of that Cilliams racing car, maybe thinking perhaps if another little mistake that happens, a 4th place finish is in the cards. As we see, Hubble now also down at Hall's Bend has had an incident. I don't know if he come together, if he's had a spin, but he has ended up in the wall, possibly needing to repair himself. He is sitting off the side of the track. Okay, he's got the car going, but he's now been passed by the good doctor. He's possibly going to bring that back down to the pits to repair if it needs to, but there's only 2 laps to go. You think you just try and stick it out to the end of the race, as Nick Chin now right behind him, looking to take that position off of the damaged car, who then spins again himself as Nick Chin cannot avoid it. And there is contact, which for Hubble, oh, it's Nick Chin. That's an unsafe rejoin. The Spectre car caught up in that. Who is that? That is Jort, whose day has gone from, well, I would say bad to worse, but getting a position out of that, and it certainly can't be considered his fault, so maybe not as bad as that could have been. But that was certainly not a good rejoin from Nick Chin, and Hubble now has pitted, likely to repair his damage from that first crash into the barrier, and subsequently, which likely very much played a part in causing that spin. He attempts to come out of the pits, but something is happening. The pit lane is very glitchy on the camera work, as a small PB car, Sench, has gone deep, or has had something happen to him just before the mountain section, and is now doing a little jump, driving along the grass. I think maybe he's got some damage and is trying to keep out of the way of other cars, or maybe he's just trying to let lapping cars past. I'm not quite sure. Everything's kicking off as we have now 2 more laps to go. As we see now, let's have a look at our leader, M1LDT, followed by a back marker. I suppose everyone basically at this point is a back marker to him, but a back marker Spinardi car of, I will assume, maybe not, right, of Robin Moe. That is Robin Moe behind him, so M1LDT is past 6th place. He has lapped 6th place. Yeah, Robin Moe in the Spinardi car there behind, followed by one of the PC racing cars, who is also not racing him at this moment. So, driver of the day, it kind of feels like last week, where, oh, sorry, 2 weeks ago, where M1LDT has just been, we haven't seen much of him, but he's been so dominant in his performance, you kind of have to give it to him, but maybe I just don't want to. Obviously, Devdo last time out also had the distinction of some very fine driving early on after a rather botched start, meaning he had to make quite a few overtakes. As we see down the order, Nick Chin, rear wheel spinning there, possibly a disconnection issue, some other issue, trying to get out of a barrier, possibly stuck in that barrier, I think that's what it was, had to return to pit, had to reset, and that will have lost him quite a few places. We'll see exactly how many very shortly. I personally think it's quite hard to give a driver of the day. There hasn't been anyone who's been overly great. Well, no, sorry, that's not true. There have been some very great drives by a great number of people, but also some very silly mistakes by those same people on occasion. For example, you know, Jort's made a number of really good overtakes, but also quite a few little mistakes which have, part of which has led to where he is at the moment, which is unfortunately down in 12th place. Let's see now, Trainboy 2005 on the rear Skrodsky, but Devdo trying to regain, after his own instance, that Cilium's 2-3 as someone is barrier behind them. We have a ride on board with Devdo, who will be trying to, on this final lap now. Let's see, where is M1LDT? M1LDT, so they will have one more lap after this. M1LDT has yet to cross the finish line, and will do very shortly. Devdo will have one lap to make it a Cilium's 2-3 race finish. I mean, again, yeah, Devdo would be a pretty interesting contender for driver of the day. He's had some very good moments. The same goes for Dionysus, new Jacob the Snack. Even deep cuts, despite again being down now in 13th. Robin Moe, possibly even, who unfortunately had to refuel in the mid-race and has had a few moments of contact as Gons gets past Trainboy 2005 through the mountain section. Those two now coming up to finishers. Milt has had a spin. M1LDT has had a spin. Possible contact with a QB car there. What is going on here? He is being pushed to the finish line by the QB car. I'm not quite sure what is happening here. I will have to ask him post-race. As anyone who passes him now is going to have to do another lap. As I think that is Trainboy 2005 there, slowing down to try and avoid having to do another lap of this circuit. M1LDT comes home as your race winner with a final time of 42 minutes, 55 seconds. 56 seconds if you account for that, as Devdo now fighting tooth and nail with Jacob the Snack through the mountain. This is it, these are the last set of corners. Jacob gets a little bit over the curbing, almost making contact, has to back out of it. I think Devdo has it now as they come up to Hall's Bend. This will be the final major bit of racing. There is something going on between Daniel Scott and Crime as they cross the line. Crime managed to get past Daniel Scott at the very end of this race. But I think Devdo has taken it from Jacob on the final lap and will come home in 3rd position, rounding out our podium finishers. Sadly giving us the exact same podium we had last race, but in a different order, but I'm sure he won't be too unhappy about it. I have a look who is yet to still come in. Ilias racing car. Close to the back of one of the Spinardis, but I believe that's Robin Moe, but not racing each other right now. As Robin lets him go, not wanting to fight too harshly. As they come home, across the line one final time. As we see Gons also getting into both of those cars there, getting a little bit wide on the exit of Hairpin. That's Nick Chin, Gons, Skrodsky now crossing the line. Followed by Nicholas Chin and Gons. So there we have it, M1 LDT off in the grass, assumably having done some form of donuts. Your race winner, M1 LDT, followed by Dionysus New, Devdo, Jacob the Snack, Eduardo Pigeon, Robin Moe, Jacob Skrodsky, Gons, Trainboy, Benjamin Walrack, The Good Doctor, Jort, Deep Cuts, Sylvain Hubble, Aaron Fiedelack, Crime, Daniel Scott, Sench, Nicholas Chin, and Beckervold, who I believe the first name is Philip, but I can't quite remember. I could actually check. It is Philip, and yours correct. And I shall request that those, our podium sitters, M1 LDT, Dion, and Devdo, come to the interview waiting room for their post-race interviews. And we see M1 LDT. Should we get it? Let's get a nice view of this car until he disconnects and ruins it for us, but let's see. As we will be joined now by our race winner, M1 LDT. Hello, Milt.
Good evening.
Congratulations. Are in order, I believe.
Thank you. Yeah. It was an interesting one.
I got to be honest, I didn't see much of you. You were sort of just out there, leading for the entire thing.
Yeah.
It reminded me of a certain other driver that we've seen recently.
Yeah, nothing much happened. Let me just tell you what the fuck happened at the end there. I don't know if you've seen what happened to me at the end.
I was curious. I did actually. That's the one part of this race I have seen. What actually was happening? I saw Aaron Fiedelack pushing you along for the last few corners. Did you run out of fuel?
I did not run out of fuel, no, but I want to say, Aaron, my deepest fucking thank you to you, because you are a legend of the game. Him pushing me to the line is incredible. My engine blew. Yeah.
So
I
think
don't
that's a
have
first,
the damage notification. I don't have the damage notification up. I disabled it, so it was a complete shock. I saw flames coming from the back of my car in my mirror, and I saw I had enough fuel to make it. So I was like, hold up, what, eh? And then, yeah, the engine blew.
Well, I'm impressed. Oh, as we see now, the Porsche Macan. So you have crossed the line. So you not only won the race, but you crossed the line without an engine. Well done.
Without a working one, yeah.
That's all I can say. I can't really say anything else other than that. Was there anything about that race that was particularly good for you, or was it just apart from the engine blowing, obviously?
Well, the first start of the race was really bad from my end. I'm slightly happy we got a restart, but the thing that caused the restart, I nearly got nailed from that move as well. It was someone on my left who had overtaken me and then moved to the right and just collected two cars. So I just avoided that. sadly, my teammate got a fantastic start on the first one, which he didn't have that good of a start on the second one, which was a bit sad. And also, somewhere during the race, my teammate got stuck, Jort, so he had to go to the pits, leave, and then join back into the server. Which is a bit sad for the constructor points, but is not that bad for the research tokens. Um, and yeah, I I kind of set myself the challenge of how far I could lap the field, and I got up until the top 5, so I'm happy.
Yeah, I did notice. I did note at some point you'd got past Robin as I saw you in front of the
Yeah,
Spinardi car. I thought, is that Robin or is that Daniel Scott? I can't quite tell.
yeah.
But
So that was
certainly not.
that was that.
And before you go and celebrate, what happened to your teammate? By the way, do you know he was in a wall for a little while there?
Yeah. So as I said, he was stuck in the wall. And then went back to pits. Saw he had a 1,000-second controls locked penalty, and I was like, just leave and rejoin. So that's what he did. But then he was like last or something. I don't know.
Yeah, he was very much embedded in that wall. He was
Yeah,
one of
that
two
was not
people
good.
that I saw embedded in walls, and by the time I'd come back, someone had got past someone else and then got back past someone else. So he missed a few battles due to watching other people's misery, but thankfully, Jor ended up 12th, replacing Darkius for this race. Is Darkius back next race?
He
Or are we
should be,
seeing...
yeah. He should be back for the next one. I believe he was watching the stream as well, because I heard he saw my engine blow. Um, so yeah, Dark, if you hear this, be back next race. Let's get some sick upgrades in for next race again.
reliability
And
ones, hopefully.
one reliability would help, yes. I think we've got some evidence that that's needed at this point.
Well, congratulations to M1 LDT on the race win, and any thoughts
Thank
for
you very
next race?
much. Alton Park next, no?
I'll have to double check, actually.
I do know Alton
Yes.
Park quite well. And I think the track will actually suit the car nicely. I think the track of today with the rally section at the end was a bit ambitious for the poor thing, but I think Alton Park could work quite nicely. I just hope we can make some nice upgrades and not fall behind a team like Cilium's, like fall far back in performance and lap time. I hope we can stay at the front,
Yeah, well,
and we'll
of
see.
course, you've got a little bit of fighting to do because with Jort's 12th place, Ciliums have continued to maintain a lead and lengthen their lead over the team's
In the
championship.
constructors,
But
yeah. How's
obviously,
the
you'll get fuel.
drivers one looking?
I haven't had a chance to run through it. I usually run through it after the interviews. But
Ooh, we're tied first with Dev though. Ooh.
oh, very nice. Well,
Ooh, and
I'll
we
certainly
won
leave you to
from
go and celebrate, and then obviously get some hard practice done because you need to beat Devdo. That's
I
got to be your
do, I
goal.
do. Yeah. I hope the car will be able to do it.
All right. Well, congratulations to you, M1 LDT, and I shall see you next time.
Thank you
Well,
very
I'll probably
much.
see you
Thank you for
before that, but
listening.
we will see you next time as a collective
Probably.
stream.
Yes. See you. Bye
See ya.
bye.
And now, second place, Dionysus New, Fred. Are you here? I have moved him in, but he is muted.
Yes, hello. It's just Dion.
But there's an Isisnu at the end of it, so I must pronounce it.
All right, fair enough. Alvin Yakatari.
That's very fair enough. So Fred, how was that race for you?
Yeah, it was a mixed bag today. I'm unhappy with the way the driving standards worked out all across the field today. It was not satisfying to see so many incidents. I think a lot of people were struggling with their car handling as well. A lot of like solo spins and crashes. Yeah, for me as well, I had a few moments where I lost time. Overall, quite a clean race. Result, can't be disappointed with the result, but quite gutted that it happened with Milt having that engine trouble in the last lap and getting the unfair push.
Hey, the King's got to finish his last race. Haven't you watched Cars?
No, I
That
have not
works.
actually.
But I mean, P2, you've maintained your third. Well, you are third in the. I mean, you obviously were second, but you are now third in the driver standings. Still
I wasn't
1
third.
point behind. So you're going to say?
No, sorry, nothing.
Well, you were
did
in
you say
second, but because of your finished position last race, but you are now you maintain third, only 1 second behind first and second place. Team standings, certainly with Yort's unfortunate missteps in today's race, you are a good 26 points clear of Spectre. Does that not give you some hope for the future?
Yeah, certainly. That's an exciting prospect for the team's development. Hope we can keep up that pace later into the season.
And obviously, very, very unfortunate due to your successes in today's race. You will once again receive the fewest research tokens at the end of this race. Any ideas how you're going to continue to deal with that issue, which isn't really an issue? Success ballast, essentially.
I think we're just gonna suck next race, really. That's my prediction. I think the development of the other teams is really going to catch up along the season. But yeah, we'll see how it works out.
Well, some people said the same today. You know, some people said that you were going to suffer today, but you pulled something out here. Obviously, coming off the back of that first race and the Spectre team having such a this week's season of dominant upgrades, I'd say belongs to Spectre.
Yeah,
So
for sure.
We'll have to see what you can do next week.
Yeah, congratulations to the to Milt for that dominant finish up until the last lap trouble.
Well, no, yeah, he certainly did well. Got a little bit of help from his friends, but I'm sure for the sake of because you can say this now because you don't have to pretend that it's not you don't have to you can just say it. You would have done the same thing, wouldn't you? You would have done the same thing as Aaron. You would have helped him along to the finishing line, wouldn't you?
I would not have helped my competitor along.
Dion,
Definitely.
Dion, you can say it because it didn't actually happen, so you can just pretend to be the nice guy. You can just say, yeah, I would have been great. It's great teamwork, great honourable competitiveness.
I mean, no, the competitive spirit is you've got your own engine trouble. That is your responsibility, and I'm going to take that win.
Well, there we have Dion. He's going to take the win. Are you going to take the win in the championship, do you think?
I certainly hope so. We'll see.
You got to beat your teammate first. You certainly had some fighting today, but we'll have to see how you. Are there any inter-team dramas coming? Come on, give us some drama.
We can always team order him around.
I'll tell him you said that.
Thanks, mate.
Right, good. Congratulations on your P2, and we'll see you next time out.
Yeah, thanks. See you around.
See you, Dion. Right, so third place now. Quick last interview with Devdo. Hello, Devdo.
Hello.
So, third place, congratulations. Another podium, second podium. This time in a very different order, well, in reverse order as to what it was last time.
Yeah, I was so unfortunate. I spun on the 21st lap on the final corner and just could not get the car reversed. It would not go. And eventually managed to get it out the wall, and I don't think I've ever concentrated so hard to manage to get past Jaker on the final lap. My heart was literally going through my mouth.
Yeah, you did very well to get past him. I'm just across the... I mean, we barely saw you because we were too busy watching Milt being pushed to the line, but
yeah,
you just got past him on like that final few corners.
Yeah, but we kind of just capitalized a lot today. Well, we had really good pace, I think.
You certainly did.
We capitalized on Jort having his unfortunate getting stuck in the wall incident.
Yeah, I mean, as I was saying to Dion, that means you continue to be P1 in the constructor standings and lengthen your lead to 26 points over Team Spectre. But
that's good.
That also means you get fewer tokens. How are you thinking you're going to deal with that?
There's gonna come a point where we're going to absolutely flatline on development, and I feel like it's gonna be next race, where I think midfield is gonna be the best we can do next race. If I'm being honest.
But hopefully your lead at the moment, you're hoping then will maintain you through.
Yeah.
And driver standings, you are still tied with M1LT because the positions were reversed at 75 points each, with your own teammate only 1 point behind you with 74.
Yeah, it's quite close.
How do you think that battle's going to go throughout the season now that Team Spectre clearly have bought some better upgrades?
Yes. Next race, they're going to be clear, no question about it, because they've already got more research points than us from this race. Never mind last race. So, Milt's probably going to win the next race, but we just kind of have to look forward to getting the best position that we can.
Well, I mean, maybe you've got some hope. Darkius is back next race. Maybe they'll be too busy fighting with each other to notice you run through.
Yeah, and I had that first start was unfortunate. I don't know what happened there.
Was that you involved in that first start? I couldn't quite tell.
Yeah, everyone was involved. There was a group in front and there was a group behind. I was the leader of the group behind, and something happened at the front of the first group, and everyone died.
Yeah, I've got to admit, I'm quite happy that Jacob managed to finish fourth, because I did feel he got a very good start on that first start, and I felt quite bad that he then had to reset the pit for the restart.
Yeah.
Because he really managed to get away, and then obviously everything kicked off behind him.
It was also unfortunate on the first lap. I got punted by deep cuts. So I went all the way down to like 9th, and it took me ages to get up.
Yeah, I did notice that. You obviously you're making a bit of a habit of getting knocked down and then getting back up.
Yeah, it's quite fun.
certainly makes things more interesting, both for yourself, I'm sure, and for me here. It gives me something to watch. But yeah, no, congratulations on your third place and on your continued. Technically, I think the order, the driver standing order, puts you behind Milt, but I think it should put you ahead on technicality, as you did win first.
Yeah.
So I will christen you P1 in standings here and now, and ignore what the server manager says, and say congratulations on your P3, and we will see you next time out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Right, so that was Devdo. That was your podium third place and your other podium sitters as we round out today's race and today's stream. So let's have a quick look before we move on at our driver standings. So as mentioned, M1LDT on Server Manager is in first, but I think that should go to Devdo, with both of them tied on 75 points, followed by Dion with 74, Jacob the Snack in 4th with 66, Eduardo Pigeon and Jacob Skrosky 5 and 6, both for the Poland's finest team, followed by the Good Doctor, Trainboy, Gons, Sylvain Hubble, Benjamin Wolrack with Deep Cut in 12th, Darkius in 13th now after missing today's race. Thomas Jack for Small PP also missing today's race in 14th with 29 points. Robin Moe for Spinardi also has 29 points in 15th. Or that should be 14th again, because he has taken part in 2 races. Suicidal Cookie now also missing today's race for QP, 27 points in 16th place. Nick Chin in 17th, followed by Daniel Scott, Crime, Sench, Jort, Aaron Fiedelack, and Philip Beckervold. And your team standings are as follows. Cilium's Racing, as said, leads by 26 points with 149 total points in first place. Team Spectre then following with 123 points. Poland's Finest in third with 106 points. Peace Tea Racing following close behind with 98. Then Helios Community Racing in 5th. Spinardi 6th. Leftovers 7th. Indian Bus Drivers 8th. Small PP 9th, with QP then in 10th. And Full Steam Racing on their debut race with 23 points in 11th, and Yaoi Over Yuri on the first race they were able to attend in 12th place with 8 points. So that is it for Project A. Project Ameliorate this time round. Join us again in 2 weeks' time for Alton Park, where we will once again see our drivers with new upgrades to test out around another classic British circuit. One which, according to at least one of our podium sitters, should suit the cars quite nicely. Before we go though, quick promotion time. This weekend or next weekend, however you want to put it, as it is Sunday, the 11th of March, Saturday the 11th of March, starting at 1600 hours, 4 o'clock PM GMT. The 4 hours of Monza, hosted by Racing Pals over on Assetto Corsa Competizione. This race will be the endurance race for solo or duo drivers involving GT3 or GT4 cars. Come and join, come sign up, and it will also be streamed live here on this very YouTube channel. That is, again, Saturday, March 11th, practice starting at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, GMT. And also next week, Sunday, as we alternate here between Project Ameliorate and RP Series, which next weekend is at Snetterton for the 1 hour sprint race series in GT3 and GT4 cars as part of our RP Series League in Assetto Corsa Competizione. Join us there. This will once again also be hosted and live streamed on this channel by our dear friend Husky, as we see a very nice poster there with a very, very nice GT3 Aston Martin car, and I'm sure that whoever made that livery is a very intelligent and lovely person. Clearly has an eye for detail. Spoiler, that is my livery. But until then, thank you. I have been your commentator, James Andrews, and thank you for watching, and see you next time.